In Love is presented by Smile Direct Club, who makes it easier than ever to straighten your smile without brackets, wires, and monthly office visits.
For $100 off your aligners, just go to smiledirectclub.com/podcast and use the offer code
In Love.
Welcome to In Love with Michael Rosenbaum
And Chris Sullivan.
where we explore the universal language of love,
Walk through the struggles of love lost.
and together navigate the bumpy and gratifying road to happiness.
Loving me, loving myself, working on my state of mental health. And I never thought it would go this far. You said we'd just be friends, but I'm standing here full of emptiness. I confess, I'm a beautiful mess.
Oh, man, it's good to be back with you today.
Oh God, I love it. I love having you near me. I do. You know,
Back in your
for
home.
some reason, I'm at my computer and I'm stressed about something, and then I look at the security camera and I see this bald, handsome fuck
lumbering up the
in.
drive.
There's nowhere to park, and I just immediately, I'm happy.
I always ring the doorbell. The door's always open.
It is
and
always
I ring
open.
the
I'm
doorbell.
like, why is he doing
I
that?
gotta just
Because the
come
one
in.
time I'm gonna
Yeah.
say, dude, you don't ring the fucking bell anymore. Just be a dick. I want to thank everybody for listening to this new show and In Love with Michael Rosenbaum and Chris Sullivan, and we really appreciate you. And again, if you want to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we respond to stuff, obviously. At In Love Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and also the number to call in with questions.
Yeah, 323-207-5676. That's the In Love hotline.
That's right. And also say, hey, Rosie, Sully, and say your name. Say, Rosie, Sully, this is Gilbert.
Yeah. Don't pretend like this is the first time you've called a hotline to ask a
on.
question about love, sex, and life.
Yeah, love, sex, life, anything you want to talk about, we're here for you.
And we'll give you a little heads up when we have specific guests. Like today, we have Chris Hardwick and his lovely wife, Lydia Hearst.
Oh, man. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, they're a special couple.
They are. I mean, they come from different worlds, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll see. But, I mean, how could you not come from a different world if you're
Couple
married
of-
to Lydia Hearst?
Couple of dark puppies.
I mean, man.
Super into the macabre, just like you.
Is that? Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that.
Oh, dude, their house. I went and recorded.
Me too.
Chris's podcast, and their house is a museum of horror and thriller and.
Mine's a smaller version of theirs. Theirs is like a more expensive, like cooler castle. Mine's like, but I love my.
I mean, the only theirs has a gate, and yours doesn't.
and
That's the
a
difference.
moat.
And a moat and crocodiles.
Crocodiles. You know what? We always start out what we're grateful for, and all
How's your
that.
neck?
It's getting better. It's certainly getting better. By the time this airs, it's probably going to be pretty good. It is this last surgery. It really helped me.
Yeah.
It really did help me. So I'm grateful for that. There you go.
There you go.
And I'm also grateful that I was at the Palm. It's a place where you get steaks here in Los Angeles, and it's kind of a one of those. It's got a lot of history to it. But I was having lunch with a friend, and he opened up to me. It was overwhelming, but I was fascinated by it, and it just, for some reason, made me emotional. And I don't cry, but my eyes filled up with tears. And he left me, and I got my car, and I just broke down a little bit. And I thought, whenever you think you're facing adversity, whenever you think everyone's against you, think again.
Yeah.
Because someone's got it darker, someone's got it worse.
Do a lot of people open up to you about in that fashion?
I feel like, I don't know what it is. I think
I do.
Yeah.
You are a vulnerable and open person. People feel safe, like they can talk to you about those things, and that you will hold space for them, and that you will not judge them. You know why a lot of people keep that stuff from certain friends? They don't want to be fixed. They don't want you to solve their problem.
Or appear to be broken.
Or, even to empathize. I don't need you to feel the same way I feel. I just need you to understand the way I feel. And I think you do a really good job at that.
Well, Chris, thank you. I'm grateful for that. But you know what, also, when you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is The one thing I do have is the ability to keep a secret or someone's thoughts with me. Someone's feelings aren't in anyone else's business. If they're telling me something or divulging something to me, and I think that goes for everybody out there. If Tyler, who's here with us today, engineering the show, if he told me something, and I don't know Tyler that well, I mean, he edits our shows, he engineers, but like if he said something to me, no matter how provocative or whatever, I feel like I know myself, and I would be like, hey, you don't have to worry about me saying something to anyone. And I think that's a hard thing to in Los Angeles, especially in the world in general, but to trust people, to know that when they tell you something, it's with them. You've told me some things, and it's with me, and that's it.
Right.
And if I tell you something, I'm like, there's no need for it, and that's how you build a friendship. That's how you build trust, because if you could trust somebody with anything, and this person, funny enough, did not know me that well, but felt, and I know they don't.
See,
talk
sometimes
about that.
that's easier too, to talk to somebody who testing out your story or your feelings on maybe not your best friend, maybe not your brother, but on somebody who who you maybe you don't see every day, who maybe you don't talk to all that much, but who is a good friend, a good person.
But what I am grateful for is that he opened up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm grateful that he trusted me with this story. And I was just blown away by the story. And I thought, man, I think that's also what made me sad. Like, I want to love something so much that I don't care about anything. There's a song by the Cranberries that we can't play because we'd have to pay for it, right? But after she passed, and by the way, when Dolores O'Riordan, the lead singer of the Cranberries, passed away, I pulled off to the side of the road when I heard it on the radio, and I cried. Yeah. Again, that was one of those moments because I just loved them. I loved her voice. And when I heard she had back problems and she drowned in a bathtub, and then you hear these things about whatever, she was going through an immense pain. Yeah. And the last song on their last album, posthumously, she passed, then it came out, was In the End. And it's like the lyrics were, ain't it strange when everything you wanted was nothing that you wanted in the end. All these material things you have and these cool things, people go, oh, you got this and you got this and you've had this. But if you don't have love, if you don't have, that's the purest thing. And if you could find that and have that and nothing else matters, that to me is just...
And that's how we help each other. That's how we help each other do that. Like your friend opening up like that. When my friends have done that to me, they're educating me on how to do that, on how to be vulnerable, how to share, on how to be honest, all of those things. And it's kind of invaluable. How many times in this industry have you thought, oh, if I could just get this one thing, that would be it. That would solve it. Oh, a series. Let's have a series. Let's be on a TV series. Oh, here I am on this TV series.
I still feel empty.
Still empty. Yeah. Still unhappy. Still struggling. Still, because none of that is a proper fix. There are no external solutions for internal problems. We have to process those things differently.
And you know what? My therapist used to call it the colander effect. Look how pretty you are. Look how pretty you are. You're great. You're great. And it just goes in and out like a colander. Like, you put spaghetti in, the water goes through. Yeah. And that's sort of like, unless you really love yourself, none of that stuff matters. It's all about connection.
We have a confirmation bias. And the only thing that actually sticks are the things that happen to line up with our own belief about ourselves. Like the reason I take offense to someone saying something about me is because it is something that I have thought about myself. So if somebody wants to imply that I'm not that funny, or I'm not a good actor, or any of these things, or someone makes a little comment about my weight, the only reason it sticks is because it confirms something I've already been running over and over and over in my head. Yeah. So if somebody says something that I have never thought about myself, that I completely disagree with, that is so outlandish, there is no connection. There is no offense taken.
Yeah, I don't care.
Because that's ridiculous. And if you can get to a place where you have self-love, where you have all of these things, then compliments and things like that start to stick.
They stick.
They don't slide through because they are confirming something that you believe about yourself. it's a tricky situation because then it becomes pretty inward. And if you let that stuff, attach to your ego, then it's a whole different.
It's debilitating. And I'll tell you what, for years and years, if I heard like, oh, Rosenbaum, if he has to have the attention and he's got to get the attention. He's got to make you laugh. He's got to be on. He's always on. He's always this guy. He's that guy. And, it hurt. And I didn't like hearing it. So I always was trying to prove them wrong. And now I would be like, yeah, I like attention. Sorry, I do. I'll just go with it. I'll admit it. I'll admit it to myself instead of fighting it and going, no. I'll be like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but since I'm a kid, I need that attention that I didn't get.
Yeah.
So I'm a loudmouth. Sorry for trying to make you laugh. Sorry for coming in and taking over your boring conversation. No, but you know what? At the end of the day, you're right. You gotta love yourself. So that's what we're working on. And today we have this Hollywood couple. By the way, what are you grateful for today?
You know what I'm grateful for? I'm grateful we bought a house.
What?
Yeah, we closed on a house last Friday.
How does that feel?
It feels incredible. It is a huge step in our already long and well-developed relationship. This will be our first home where we haven't shared a wall with someone. Like
wow.
The four walls, the roof, the ceiling, the floor are all ours, and there's nobody. Nobody on the other side. When Rachel and I got married, 5 days after we got married, we moved to New York because I got cast in a Broadway show. Not only did we move to New York, we moved in with one of my high school friends, Victoria.
Oh my God.
And we lived with her for 8 months. Because trying to get an apartment in New York is a racket.
Did she want to kill you? Did you guys want
No. It was because we were trying to plan a wedding and move to New York, and we had no time to find an apartment. And my friend Victoria had a 2-bedroom apartment, and she had an empty room, and she gave us the master bedroom, and she took the smaller room. And I was gone every night doing a Broadway show, and so Victoria and Rachel became best friends to this day. She's staying at our house right now.
Wow.
We've lived in close quarters. Even when you have your own apartment in New York, you're never alone. You can hear the person next door. You can hear footsteps upstairs. You can hear people out on the street.
You learn to live with it.
Like it just
now you don't have that.
Oh, you don't right now at this moment.
You still have that.
We still have that.
But how long before you move in?
A couple months.
Do you think sometime in the fall you'll be lying in bed and going, God, I miss the Johnsons upstairs?
Yeah. You know what? We will, because right now we live with our friends Julie and Leif and their 2 kids, and they live on the top 2 floors of this building they own, and we rent the 2nd floor. And the kids are running around, and their 4-year-old Driggs will like wander in and just sit down and have a conversation with me, and then wander back upstairs. And it's great. Their daughter is our godchild.
There's a little family gonna be missing now.
Yeah, and we cook dinner. They come down and eat. They cook dinner. We go.
I'll
up
come
and
over.
eat.
You'll feel like the kids are around.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bring some toys. We'll play. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Hardwick and Lydia Hearst.
We were talking about what do you talk about to you guys? I mean, because every couple's different. We had Seth Green and Claire Grant and
the best.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, and we're having different people come in and
best friends, individuals, and we've kind of just been talking to people.
Well, I thought we were here to counsel you about your fear of commitment.
Is that what you told them?
No, that's not what I. That's not exactly how I put it. I said that the conceit was that you and I are two men in different stages of committed relationships. Me being in one, and you not being in one.
Yeah,
and stages.
And
by the way, if
you're in a stage, Chris.
Yeah. By the way, if it was a movie right now, you'd hear all that laughter, and then you close in on me and just
a single tear. Yeah, the eyes begin to water.
But that we were engaging in these conversations that regardless of where we are and all of that, to improve ourselves and to figure out what works for people and what doesn't work for people. And
So without lying, why does your relationship?
Lying. First of all.
No, because everybody thinks celebrities are like everybody's perfect. Although that's not true, because there's so many fucked up celebrities like myself, and but there's way more fucked up celebrities. But I'm saying is when they get married, they're like, oh, how long is that gonna last? Everybody's very down on everybody, especially on social media and whatever. So with you guys, you're both in the spotlight. You come from a very a historic family, and you're very famous, and you have great careers and all these things. So it's like you're busy, and it seems like, God, that would be so hard. How do you make time for each other? How do you do it?
Well, I kind of want to backtrack a little bit because I think we had a very fortunate. Our relationship started in a very
weird way.
In a weird way, in like a weird news, good news way, which is we kept having these false starts and stops with dates, and then work schedules did get in the way, but eventually.
Eventually we had our third date in New York because we both happened to be in the city.
We both happened to be in the city, and Lydia said, "Hey," and it's a long story, but ultimately, I in the beginning thought she didn't want to go out with me because we met super briefly at Talking Dead. Lydia, you didn't ask, but I'm just going to give you the background because I think it'll pave the way.
I went to the show because I've been living in Los Angeles for a while, and I'd never been in a studio audience. And my dad was very sick at the time. He was diagnosed with terminal parotid adenocarcinoma, so he was getting towards the end. And so one of my best friends, he happened to live next door to Sean James, who does the hair and makeup on Talking Dead. And so my friend went there all the time and was like, oh, let's check this off your bucket list. You're in town for a weekend. It'll be a good distraction. You love horror, zombies. Let's go see this show. So I wound up at Chris's show.
We just met for a half a second. The other sad part about it was my dad had just suddenly died the day before.
Wow.
And I went to work anyway because, our show's live and I wanted the distraction, and I also felt like it just felt like the right thing to do, to go to work anyway. So when we met, it was very brief.
But it turns out I knew Sean because he'd done my hair and makeup over the years during fashion weeks in New York, and he and I had coincidentally just done a photo shoot about 2 months prior.
Right. So we were both in other relationships at the time. So the meeting was literally 10
5
seconds. Oh, nice
maybe,
to meet you.
Yeah.
Then fast forward to almost a year later, we're both single and we were reset up by this guy, Sean. Mm-hmm. Sean said, he's Australian, as you would be able to tell by my top-notch accent.
for it.
Oh, yeah, you should go out with Lydia Hearst. I should. Okay, sure, yeah, I'll just call her. And he goes, oh, I already called her for you. She said she'd go out with you. And I'm like, perfect. Okay. So we got set up that way, and then we could not make the third date. We went on one date, and so before the third date, I
remember you telling me this because you got a little frustrated.
Well, I was working, so I had a lot of photo shoots, and I was doing a couple independent film projects, and they, on those projects, you never really know what's going to go on. Long hours, forced calls in the morning. So we tried to schedule a couple dinners, but the shoots always went over, and I was on set, so I was like, I'm so sorry, I can't get off set.
Last minute canceling. Literally 4 times in a row.
My wife and I have the same story.
Now, let me ask your perspective on this, because I'm someone who never wants to feel like they're in the way. And so I started to feel like, oh my God, she doesn't want to hang out with me, but she's too nice to say anything.
So then he sends me this Dear John letter.
It was not. It was a...
Give me a 30-second version now as if you're writing it and talking like
It was a release text. I said,
my dearest Lydia.
I said, I really like you a lot. I understand that we're both very busy, but since you keep canceling last minute, I'm feeling like maybe this isn't something you're into, and I'm letting you off the hook. I don't want you to feel pressure. I think you're great. No hard feelings.
I've done one of those
no
too.
Big deal, but I thought I was kind of doing her a favor that she was too nice to be like, I don't want to go out with you. And so...
I never responded.
She never responded, so I was like, I guess I was right.
What?
And
wait, you intentionally never responded?
I would have been very reactive, and because before I met Chris, I'd essentially sworn off dating, and I was like, everyone in Los Angeles is an asshole, especially anyone in entertainment. He must just be like all these men in Hollywood. I'm just gonna not date anyone, and I didn't want to be reactive because I knew that wasn't fair. So instead, I just didn't respond.
Yeah, and so I
off the hook.
Gave up.
Well, especially because one of my best friends who just got married, she hated dating in Los Angeles because she would say it's so crazy. If you don't respond to someone, because she was on the dating apps, dudes would literally DM her and be like, you're a bitch for not. And I'm like, why would you do that? If someone doesn't want to go out with you,
that's terrible.
If they don't respond, that's their answer.
Yeah.
Move on.
I'm also a really bad texter. I have probably over 100 unread messages on my phone that I have not read. They could be from 2 days ago. They could be from 5 years ago.
I almost
don't know.
get diarrhea looking at the red dots on her on it, unread things. Her email is almost. I can't even have a little one in the circle.
5,000.
She has a fucking straight line.
Yep.
It's just a red line of all.
Don't you have a VIP? It pops up in the VIP. So look, there's Chris. He emailed me.
Well, now he's in that, and my agents are there.
You made it in,
But at the
buddy.
time I wasn't. And by the way, which I thought was totally fair. If she doesn't want to go out with me, of course it's no
Sure.
big. It's no big. It's like there's no crime. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. It's not everyone wants to go out with everyone. But I just wanted to like give her the out.
Sure.
But like what he didn't know is, so we had these 2 dates, and he seemed really sweet, even though he invited me to his house on the second date, where I was like, hold on, buddy. No.
Now that you know me, though, you know
No,
that I was doing
I know you were
restoration on
just
the house.
excited and wanted to
I
show me the
legitimately
house.
just wanted to show her that
But
I
I
just
was
put a
like,
TARDIS in the house. Or
yeah,
not
I
just,
don't
but
know
it
what
did
kind
a
of
bit.
girls you're used to dating, but how about dinner and you can pick me up?
There was nothing in my mind about, like, I
I know
legitimately
that
wanted to show her that
now.
there was like a log cabin in the
Sure,
house,
sure,
and that was it.
But what he said to me, he was like, all I have is a mattress and a beanbag chair. And I was like, what?
I could see how that would be misconstrued.
No,
But now
in fairness,
I know, yes.
Yes.
But I had actually bought him before our third date. I'd actually bought him a housewarming present.
Oh, nice.
But then I got that message, and
Right.
it was like in the mail on the way.
And you
to
had
me.
gotten him a beanbag chair, and he already had
No,
one.
I actually got him this really amazing, artistically framed bird-eating spider. Because I knew, like, we sort of had the same taste, taxidermy, and all this stuff.
Amazing.
So I was getting shipped from, like, overseas.
It's a great
And it was
spider.
being made. So I just didn't respond to his message because I was a little bit hurt and I didn't want to be reactive. And then a couple weeks later, I was in New York filming a movie, and I got this notification that the present I got him arrived. So I sort of struggled with the idea of writing to him or not, but I was like, oh, I bought him this present. Like, I don't feel right keeping it. I just want to clear the air, let him know I did think he was a really nice guy, and it really was just scheduling, and I bought him this gift. I totally get it if he doesn't
You
want to
bought
see
it
me.
for him after the third date.
No, I bought it for him before the third date.
I did not know this.
He didn't know this,
That-
and I was
okay.
like,
I mean,
I'd gotten you this little thing. It's a small little gift. I don't feel right keeping it. Like, I can have a messenger drop it off. You don't even have
Yeah.
to see me. Like, I just don't feel right keeping it because I thought you'd like it. And
I already have one.
Maybe we'll run into each other in the future at some point. I
Yeah.
don't know. So then he told me that he was coming to New York for the New York Comic Con.
But by the way, I said it's so nice to hear from you. I said I'm so sorry. Like if I was off base and misjudged what was going on, I just didn't want to pressure you if you didn't want to be going out with me. And she was like, no, I really want to go out with you. I was really busy working. And I said, well, I'm going to be in New York. Do you want to hang out? And she said, absolutely. So
Don't say she canceled.
All right.
well, this
Okay,
this is all going to a good place.
Right,
Notice
but-
the wedding
We know,
rings.
we know.
Like,
yes.
I'm getting all dressed and ready to go meet Chris. We're going to go out to dinner. It's going to be amazing. I'm all excited. But at the same time, I'd obviously been auditioning, going out for projects, and like half an hour before we're supposed to meet up, I got a call from Eli Roth. And he called me all excited to tell me, I'd booked his new series, South of Hell, and
Yeah.
get ready because in 10 days, you're not going back to LA. You're moving to Charleston. So
For how long? For how long?
for like 6 months, the whole
So
season.
everything,
It was
hang
picked
on,
up for the whole
hang on,
season.
everything is in your way trying to say don't go out with each other.
Well,
So-
that's
well,
not going.
So
That's
I,
one.
that's
I
one
go
perspective.
from like jumping up and down, all excited, like, oh my God, I booked the show, woo! Then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, Chris and I are supposed to go out to dinner, and he thinks I'm moving back to New York in 10 days, but instead I'm not going home. I'm just going with the clothes I have in my suitcase.
So I'm literally
to
about to-
South
Dear
Carolina.
Lydia.
I'm about to walk out. I'm about to walk out of the hotel.
But also, but precursor to the date, like, I just didn't want, like, I felt like if I didn't call him and I didn't say something, the date would be a lie.
Let me
so,
tell them
like,
because
I didn't,
it's so
but, like,
sweet what
I
you
didn't
said.
want to, like, go to dinner and have this amazing time and then be like, oh yeah, by the way, fuck you, bye.
So
I
this was
called him.
this is the coolest move. I had so much respect that she did this because this is something that I would do. I could hear the tone in her voice. I see the phone. It's her calling. I'm like, no.
No.
And
Can't
so
No one calls
It's
this
literally on the way.
But I did probably start it back because I was like, hey, so have you left yet?
Yeah. Okay. So have you left yet? And I'm like, okay, here it comes. And she goes, look, I need to be very honest with you. I understand we have this weird history. I understand about all the canceling. That was a separate thing. I just got a call from Eli Roth. I'm going to be moving to Charleston, South Carolina in a couple of days. This call is to say, if you don't want to go out with me, I understand. If you don't want to go out with someone who's moving away, I want to give you that opportunity right now.
And I was like, but I would love to see you.
Still
I would
love to see
have
you.
dinner with you, but I understand
No,
because
you're
it's
off
not
the
fair
hook.
to you
No,
because
you're off
I'm
the hook.
Exactly.
moving, and it's not just for a pilot episode, it's for the whole season. It's picked up, so we're going.
And I said,
I'm going away.
I said, I so appreciate that you called. I would still love to go out with you. We went to Cipriani's right off Central Park.
Nice.
We rode back to her apartment, and we had this amazing time talking. And
Talking.
Yeah. And then
No love making or anything.
no. Well, let me get to the
Wow, it's the fourth date or something.
No. Let me get to that. Because our first date, the first date we had was all dead dad talk.
Yeah.
So it was because her father
yeah.
passed away over several years was consumed by cancer. My dad died very suddenly. And so our first date was the most real kind of experience because there was no pretense to it. We weren't, neither one of us were performing in any way. It was just, we were sharing stories because they died within a month of each other.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
And
exactly
so
1 month.
Was it intense, somber, like?
No, it was really lovely, actually.
it was nice.
It was really open and honest, and like neither one of us were trying to pretend to be. It was just like, oh, this was my experience. What did you? And we really bonded. So we go on this date, and I get an Uber, and we're being driven back to her apartment, and I just remember this exact moment. We were holding hands. And she just put her head on my shoulder, and I was like, well, I think I'm sunk now. This is it. I'm about to be in a long-term,
Yeah.
in a long-distance situation. We kissed goodbye. I left her, I left. Nothing else happened. It was very sweet.
It was a good kiss, though.
It was an amazing kiss. And then I think the reason that we are here today, phone, FaceTime, we had to get to know each other over several months. And so the physical stuff never got in the way. And I was happy that it didn't because we got to really care about each other before that happened. And I'm not someone who's like, yeah, better wait till marriage. No. But something
But
about...
it was actually important because it made us get to know each other.
Sure.
And also...
By the time we did get physical, we already liked each other. That just got removed from the equation by geography. And it's one of the things I'm most appreciative of.
If you would have said, you know what, let's just wait till you're back, you probably wouldn't be married right now, would you?
Probably. I don't know.
Who knows where we would have been?
Who knows? But we just... In talking on the phone, we got to understand each other's values. We got to connect. We would FaceTime, and I really did invite her to the house at one time because I was restoring a house.
Don't defend yourself. Every guy has asked a girl, hey, I don't know what you're doing. I'm really tired tonight. I'm going to be at my house. I don't know if you want to come by.
But you both have very specific interests.
This is where the story gets kind of insane, is that in this kind of FaceTime and get to know each other, I was giving her walkthroughs of the house as I would do stuff. And like, see, I really did just want to show you the house.
Wow.
And so I had just bought these antique griffin sconces. This griffin, the griffin, mythical griffin creature.
Yeah.
And I go, I just got these griffins today at this antique store.
And he's like, aren't they really cool? And my response was, oh my God. And he's like, I know, right? And I'm like, no. Like, you don't understand. I have those sconces. I got them 8 years ago at an auction.
And we think,
and there were four
she goes,
of them.
No, I think she said, "Oh, I go. You have some like these." She goes, "No, I think I have those."
No, I have those sconces. And I went through my photos and I was like, "Look, they're in my new apartment."
They're the same fucking sconce.
Hold on. Do you think they were from that auction? Like there was a set of 4.
We think there were because mine were antique and hers she got in England, and mine I know were from England.
Mm-hmm. And I only got 2 because 2 were badly damaged, and I just didn't feel like restoring them.
So I have 2, and she had 2. And now in our house, they're on opposite walls.
Okay, now many
That's
people
incredible.
right now, some of them are probably going, nerds.
Yes.
But those others are probably thinking, okay, this is a big part of your relationship because there's such a connection of, and you were talking about this before, that you both love a lot of the same shit.
Yes.
Comics, horror movies.
Which is very helpful because a lot of people wrongfully make the assumption that, where's your wife? Make you keep all your nerd shit in a closet? And I'm like, no, we just...
like, I'm worse than he
We
is.
doubled the amount of stuff.
That's what we were talking about earlier, right? Like your house is full of the things that you love. It's
As
full
it
of.
should be.
But I can't marry a couple.
We brought you here to ask if you'd be interested in another husband.
The first Christmas we were together, we gave each other like 3 or 4 presents, and they were exact mirrors of each other. Like
Incredible.
and they were so specific. It was like some weird nerdy T-shirt, a piece of vintage taxidermy.
Yeah.
Like it was so fucking specific. A video game, like it was so
it was
specific.
very much the same.
So I'm not saying that is the foundation of a relationship, but it does help when you are into some of the same stuff, because then you don't ever feel like you're having to compromise. Like, we watch HGTV all the time, and you see those couples where the husband's like, yeah, I want to put like a 200-inch screen here. And she's like, we just something in a cabinet. I like classical. I want modern. It's like, I wonder how this is going to shake out.
Yeah, it's bad.
All right, the In Love podcast is brought to you by Smile Direct Club. Do you spend more time telling jokes than laughing at them to avoid showing your smile?
Do you find yourself stifling laughter or hiding your smile because, well, you don't like how your teeth look?
Look, that is no laughing matter. You shouldn't have to hide behind jokes or sarcasm because you don't feel confident about your smile.
Well, now you don't have to. With Smile Direct Club, you can get a smile you'll love and a lifetime of confidence in as little as 6 months.
Smile Direct Club makes it easier than ever to straighten your smile. Brackets, wires, and monthly office visits are a thing of the past.
Visit SmileDirectClub.com to book a free visit and 3D image at one of their smile shops or have an impression kit mailed to you. They'll email you a preview of your new smile.
So, as one of our listeners, you will get $100 off your aligners.
$100 off?
That is correct.
Wow.
You just go to SmileDirectClub.com/podcast and you put in the offer code INLOVE.
SmileDirectClub.com/podcast and use the offer code
INLOVE. Following your passions, your individual passions, that's what eventually brings you together. Like, you have built an empire around the things that you love, the culture that you love, whether it's Walking Dead or The Nerdist or your podcast, ID10T podcast. Your love for the macabre, your friend was like, we should go to this thing. And because you both are so passionate, the roads led you to each other. If you're hosting a podcast about a show or about a topic that you hate or that you don't like, you're going to be surrounded by people who you have nothing in common
and
with.
I've always felt bad in a way. I don't know if bad is the right word, but for performers who are successful in something that is not who they are,
right?
Because they attract an audience that they don't appreciate, and may not even like, and
they don't relate
sucks.
to.
Like when I perform and people come to my shows, I go meet them afterwards, and they're legitimately people I would hang out with.
Right.
I really appreciate that, and with Lids, it's sort of the same kind of thing. Like we just went to E3 together, and we're excited about the same games, and I don't think it's necessarily like make or break. But it is nice that we have another layer that we connect on.
So go ahead.
So in these industries that pull us in all these different directions, you're off at conventions, you're filming movies, your photo shoots, all of these things. It sounds like you guys are very lucky in that you have all of these things that just bring you back together, that just bring you to the same place, that kind of ground
but not only that, but like in the story, the thing I gathered, which kind of answered the question in a very long way, which was good because it's a great story. But what you said was, I can't go out with you. I've got this, and I'm really working, and I just got this new series in Charleston. And that was really the question. With your schedules and with all these things going on, it was kind of like, I don't know if precursor is the right word, but it's kind of like setting the bar like, hey, this is what we're doing. Let's see if we could do this without sex, without really knowing each other. Because if we could do it now, then it's going to be probably easier.
Well, also, things work how they're supposed to work. And if we had gone out a bunch in the beginning, maybe we would have fooled around sooner. And maybe, I don't know. Who's to say? It worked out the way it worked out.
Right.
And that was for the best. But I do think people can confuse lust and love. And when you feel overwhelmed by, like that sort of, when you're in lust with someone and you feel sort of consumed by it, like that doesn't
last. It fizzles out, and the excitement, like not, every day is exciting, but like not every day is exciting.
No.
No, it can't be.
But it's because I'm not a wait until marriage guy either. But I do understand on a base level why certain people are so adamant about it, because once you involve
the dynamic
sex.
changes.
Yeah, and physicality, there's brain drugs involved. There are chemical reactions happening that can feel confusing, like you're saying, that can feel like, oh, this is love. Oh, no, it's not. It's a physical chemical brain reaction to a physical interaction. And so to kind of remove that from the early stage, you get to see each other. And it's always to me, whenever I see you guys in public, whenever we run into each other at a party, I see that you see each other. It's not the same. It's not what we see a lot of. And it's always, honestly, for Rachel and I, grounding when we see you two walk in.
I really appreciate that.
Because it makes us feel comfortable. We're like, an oasis.
And also, like, the marriage thing isn't something that we take lightly, you know? It's like, when you're really committed, you know that you are in it, and you know that you have each other's back, and you know that you're going to have days where you don't agree on stuff. You're going to have days where one of you's cranky. You're going to have days where one of you's not as available. But it's just sort of that default setting of the long term, like, but I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
And there's not, like, we're in it. And so it's kind of feeling that and knowing that and really committing to that. Just when people say, how's marriage? It's like, it's fucking great. You know, like, it's great.
But it's work. It takes actual,
everything.
Everything's work.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're in a relationship like us, I mean, you really know the other person. You know every little thing about them. So like, heaven help him if I'm ever cranky or something and I try to hide it. He's like, yeah, it's not working. Like,
it's usually if you just haven't eaten.
Our couples therapist calls that having your partner's owner's manual.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like you
That's
have
exactly
their
what it
manual
is.
and you know that if problem A, answer B. If problem, you know what I mean? And,
Right.
Knowing each other on that level.
But also being able to communicate and just
being able to communicate, like understanding. It's so easy to convince ourselves that because we use the same words that they all mean the same thing. And a lot of times in relationships, you can really get caught up in personal vernacular where someone says something and then you interpret that with your baggage or your with whatever interpreter you have. And then you react a certain way, but it's like, oh, they didn't mean that at all. Like, you have to really get to know and understand, like what you have to like have like a relationship Google translator, as opposed to assuming that someone means what you would mean if you use certain words.
Do you have code words?
We have hangry, which is like, I need to eat now, where Lydia will be like, I need to eat now or I'm going to get real cranky. And,
it usually starts with like, so I'm hungry. And then 20 minutes later,
and then I'm
hungry.
That's where the ticking clock starts.
It starts the downhill.
And then we get
I do that too. This is the thing. I remember my brother was driving. Of course, there wasn't a girl involved. It's my brother. I'm not talking about a relationship. But my brother's driving in my van. God.
Problem
I'm
two.
an idiot. Problem number two. And he's driving it, and he's like, we're going to get on the road, and then we're going to, and I'm
he
like,
spills a beer on my Chuck E. Cheese costume.
no, I go, I want to stop by like Jack in the Box. This was years ago. I want to stop by Jack in the Box. So I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten today. He's like, no, we're going to get on the road and we're going to go up to Big Bear or whatever. And I go, no, dude, here's the deal. I'm really hungry. And then it escalated. He's like, no. And he was so nonchalant. Like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to get on the road. And I go, buddy, I'm telling you one more time, you're going to pull off the road. He goes, no, I'm not doing that. And the next thing, though, there's a football that just, for some reason, I had a football in the van across his face. It didn't hit him. He goes, what the fuck? And I go, pull the goddamn car. I need a Jack in the Box. I'm not kidding. Ask my brother.
I get like that, but then I reach the point where it's gone too far, and Chris is like, well, what do you want? I'll make you anything. We'll get you anything. I'm like, I'm not hungry anymore.
I hate you and I want a divorce.
I don't want anything.
Now I'm just mad.
There is a Hulk smash element to it at a certain point, where it's like nothing is gonna. You just kind of have to wait for
everything's just a terrible.
And then I'm like, okay, well, let's just get a little something in there, and then it'll feel like, I promise you'll feel better if you just get a little something. But it's like when you were on my podcast and we were talking about depression and anxiety, and you said sometimes people forget how physiological it is, and it can be just as simple as like, I need to eat something or I need to hydrate.
Yeah.
Or you say the wrong shit.
Right.
I mean, that's true.
So the reactionary stuff, when you say something that you don't want to say, you've mentioned now twice that you're like, I don't want to be reactionary, so I didn't respond, or I don't want to be.
Right.
How do you do that?
That's maturity.
That's just how she is.
I can't fucking do that.
I'm very big on communication. I'm perhaps, probably overly communicative.
How did that come to be?
That's just sort of how I've always been. I
Your
always sort of
parents
have
instill
watched.
that? Who-
They
who-
did. My parents were really good at communicating. I mean, they were together up until the end.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really important. And I think that really is the foundation for any good relationship in your life, whether it's with family, friends, or your partner, husband, wife, all of it.
And what I had to learn is that when Lydia says stuff, that's literally what she means. You know, and it's a very important thing to be able to take your partner at face value and not go like, well, does that mean something? Is there an underlying thing? Is there another? She's like, no, if I say something, that's exactly what I mean.
That's literally it. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have a hidden agenda. There's
Right.
no weird motive, no secret messages. I just say something.
She's very,
and that's it.
she's
it means
very
nothing
direct.
more than whatever.
And
it
when we
was.
first started dating, she was like, "You may not always like what I say, but I will always be honest with you, and I will always be direct with you."
Yes.
And I kind of, she was like, and it's gotten me in a lot of trouble in the
Well,
past
because I
was,
do have like a resting bitch voice, and it's
Bitch
not
voice?
Yeah, and it's not intentional.
Arresting. So your
Like
your
I
normal
don't even know what it is.
voice.
I just think my normal voice. Sometimes I say things.
Give
and
me an
people are
example.
like-
Give me an example
Well, that's
of
the
what
thing.
you-
I don't even know. Like sometimes I'll just say something and it's an opinion or like a matter of fact
Let's hear it.
observation, and sometimes people can be a bit
All right,
taken aback.
Chris brings
by
home
it.
a certain piece of art that you're just not jiving with.
You don't wanna-
And-
you don't
and
wanna take the
And you
sconces off.
say,
well, it's
I
so
don't
like,
really
so like an
know. It's
example would be
just-
is like if we're going somewhere and I am wearing something, and if she says, "Is that what you're wearing?" In my head, you know, if it were my mom when I was younger, it'd be like, "Is that what you're wearing?" comma, because that's probably not appropriate for wherever we're going.
Or
Lydia,
like I'm just gauging so I know what I should put on.
or she is just legitimately curious.
yeah.
And that's a bad example. I don't think that's ever happened, but I'm just like just an idea,
Sure,
like
sure.
something you could read into. It's
Where
like,
it
oh, is
literally- it
that,
doesn't actually
should I not be
mean
wearing this?
anything.
No. I'm legitimately just so taking your partner, being able to take your partner at face value, I think is very, very crucial.
You know what's funny is I'm not in a relationship right now. That's pretty funny.
Good night, everyone.
But Tyler here, who's our engineer, he walked in the house today to set up for this interview, and I said, "I like your hair like that. Your hair looks good like that. It's striking. You're model-esque." And then my assistant Jess goes, she looks at me, she goes, he didn't really ask. And you
And does that
know,
imply that
and
you
are
don't like it the other
exactly.
times?
And I'm like, no, I just call it as I see it.
Right.
Like I'm like, I want to say
Right.
like, you know,
Right.
for instance, like I walk in, I was like, oh, you look very nice today, as opposed to yesterday. Get off your high horse.
Right.
All right. I'm just saying something that I noticed. You know what? I think we should get into a caller. We have a hotline. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
We have a love hotline, and people ask questions, and you know, we'll see what they have.
We
And we'll
weigh
see
in.
if we're not professionals, but you're married. I'm single. We've got it down here.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Hello. How do you know if you've fallen out of love with someone?
You know, that's a very, since we haven't experienced that,
Thankfully, it hasn't happened.
I will say
here.
this though. A therapist once said something that was really interesting to me. It has not applied to our relationship, but a couple was being interviewed who had been married for like 60 years or something, and someone said, "What's the the way people talk down to older people? Hey, you! It's adorable that you lived a long life. What is the secret to the longevity of your relationship?" And they thought about it for a second, and then the lady said, "We never fell out of love at the same time." And in other words, I think that was just sort of a way to describe like
Right.
long-term relationships have ups and downs. Sometimes one person might be more focused on something else, but at the end of it, they were committed long-term, and they always supported each other no matter what. Now, to say, how do you know if you're out of love? I don't know. That's a good question.
I could probably
Yeah,
answer.
I mean,
it.
I don't know. I mean, I think in previous relationships, I'm sorry, I had previous relationships before you. This is going to sound really weird, and I don't know if this is what any other woman has thought, but, I have had a couple serious relationships prior to meeting Chris. This might sound terrible, but while I was dating them, I sort of always had this epiphany where I sort of evaluated the relationship, thought about where it was going, and then I imagined, well, what would it be like if I had to spend the rest of my life with this person? And like imagined, the potential theoretical wedding, and like there were almost every time where I was like, I could see the whole thing happening and like getting to the end of the aisle and then being like, I can't do this. I do not want to be with you. And I was like, well, the relationship's over because if that's how I feel about this, I'm out.
Wow.
And but that's a very harsh, realistic example of how I sort of viewed relationships, where I was like, why would I waste any more time with this person if I know that I do not want to spend my life with them?
For me, it's, you know what it is for me? I remember telling this woman, gosh, I enjoy you so much. I love sex like no other. I could do anything with you, but I just don't feel safe with you. I don't feel safe.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
I just feel like I'll be there, but she won't be. And I just knew it in my heart that that's something that's...
Did she agree?
I mean, it's something innate. It's something that there's women I've dated who I go, you know what? This person will never cheat on me. And that's a good thing.
Right.
You know, maybe it didn't work for other reasons, but I felt safe. Like, believe it or not, I've never cheated on a woman ever. I just can't.
So
Maybe
it's not. So it's not. That wasn't you projecting like I don't feel safe with me, kind of a thing.
No, it wasn't about me.
So
It was
more like she was
I felt
sexually free but emotionally unavailable.
not. I don't think it was sexual. I just felt like she wouldn't always be there. She would not be there. She would Michael Bolton. She would Christian Bale. She would not. She. But you know what I'm saying? I really felt like I'm like, you're not going to be in it for the long haul. I don't. Every day will be like, oh, she's still here. She's still here.
So was that emotional stuff? Like when you would share?
It was emotional.
So when you,
But it wasn't my shit. It was real shit that I felt that I knew.
I'm not saying that because it was emotional,
Was I
it's
yelling at you?
invalid.
Sorry.
Don't yell at me.
I'm sorry.
Another thing is we are developing our own relationship on this podcast,
Of
and
course.
we're trying to analyze it as we go.
Talk to me.
I'm not yelling at you. The fact that it's emotional, it doesn't make it invalid. It makes it all the more valid. I think for Rachel and I, what we have found about what it means to like love another person. I don't know if we've talked about this, but it's like it's not about saying it. It's not about grand gestures. It's not about any of these things. But safety is an interesting word because she needs to feel safe to make mistakes. She needs to feel safe to say what she wants to say, to feel, to share her feelings, to be the highest version of herself. And it is my job, if I love this person, to make a safe place for her to do that.
Yeah,
and
just so
vice
she
versa.
knows that he's not going to Jane Leaves. Hey guys,
All right, that's
Are
it.
we,
That's the podcast.
did we?
That was so good.
Oh, thanks.
That was so good. But you said it earlier about like feeling safe enough to get into the weeds and know that the other person isn't just going to be like, fuck this, I'm out of here.
And that's what's so great about marriage versus just dating. And when I was younger, I don't know if I realized people were like, no, being married's really great, and it's this other. And then it happened. I was like, oh my God, I completely understand it now, because you really are saying to each other, we're in it. You know, like we are in it. And I don't know, especially with the caller. You don't want to drift into codependence, but I do think it's important to ask yourself how much you'd be willing to sacrifice for another person.
Sure.
Even knowing that when we first started dating that Lydia was going to be living in another city, I still felt like, yeah, I want to do that. I didn't even question it. And kids weren't something that I necessarily thought I would ever I didn't really have a strong feeling about it, but when Lydia and I were dating, she said, kids are something that are important to me. I'm just telling you now so that if this continues and my reaction was like, yeah, okay. And that to
Wait,
me,
so you
I feel
guys
like I
wanna
might have
kids?
accidentally been a little more blunt than that, because I think I was sort of just like laying it out. Where
Was it the resting voice?
Probably, because there was something where like he'd lived with people before, which is fine, but I was like, yeah, I've never lived with a boyfriend, and just throwing this out there, that's never going to happen. I'm not living with anyone before I get married. So like that's not happening.
So you want to have kids, it sounds like.
And then I was like, and also, I feel like, we've been dating for a little while, and you should be aware that like, if you're not interested in kids, that's fine. I totally respect that, but we can't date because I want to have a family. So
Right.
like, I don't want to be unfair to you,
and there
I'm
was
not going to
nothing. There was
expect you to
nothing
change.
in me that like.
so.
There was nothing in me that was like, whoa, hit the brakes. What is this? And I was like, okay, like I'm on board. Like I felt
You were presented with the situation.
And the
Right, and I
the
was
fact
like,
that I
I'm cool
reacted
either
that way was
but
a big.
I just, if that's not what
I love
you
how
want,
I can understand both of you when you were talking at the same time. It was weird because like, sometimes I can't, but you're actually perfect.
the frequencies were perfect.
The frequencies
It's a
were
musical call and
perfect.
response.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
That's harmony.
Yes,
Right?
that's
That
good.
is harmony.
That's how harmony works.
Next question. we have another one?
I feel like we didn't answer her question, though. I feel bad that we didn't answer the question. How
I
do you
think
know,
we did. I think we
how do
did
you
in a
know-
roundabout way. If you are
in
interested,
relationships, you
Go,
grow
Lydia.
and you change, but you do it together. And that's where, again, I keep going back to communication, but that's why it's so important and such a key factor to the foundation of anything. Because people do grow, they do change, and they do evolve, but it is important to do that together.
That's why it's so complicated if you conflate lust and love. If something starts very lusty, the second that starts to subside, as chemically
You come down off that high.
You come down off that high, and so you do have to ask yourself, am I chasing highs, or do I have real feelings? And because, again, we were never in a position to be able to do that, I knew I really care about this person. She's amazing. And, whether we have sex now or it doesn't happen for another, I don't care. Like, I just like this person.
Right.
And then by the time the physical stuff did happen, it was great. It was like, it was great. I mean, emotionally, it was
Sure.
great. Emotionally, it was great.
You probably both felt very safe. You probably both felt very connected, and I think that the safety is a huge part of that. Like if you are in a relationship with someone, and all of a sudden you start to feel unsafe, and if you say to that person, "I just don't feel safe with you," and their response is anything other than, "Oh my God, I want to make you feel safe. What can I do to make you feel safe?" Then you've fallen out of love with that person.
I think of a good analogy. This is going to be also terrible, by the way.
Okay, good.
It's like going to Magic Mountain.
It's
Okay?
already off to a
It's
good
like
start.
going to
No, it's off to a good
It's
start.
like going to Six Flags, the two of you, and looking at all these amazing rides, but not being able to go on them at first, and just enjoying the park, enjoying each other, and then one day it's like, let's ride, baby.
Well, first of all, that's the best metaphor that's ever involved Valencia.
Yeah, the only one. The only one.
I'm kidding, Valencia. I kid Valencia.
For other
Local references.
for other regions, it might be Great America. What else could we install in there?
Although weirdly, like Chris has heard me say this, I'm not a fan of what I call roller coastering, which is when people have those emotional highs and lows. And that's also, I think, why it's very important to me to not be reactive, because I like to maintain a level head to get an understanding and to be able to truly understand a situation and not just react or have these crazy emotional highs and lows and get overwhelmed with situations.
Do you have a friend? I mean, Jesus.
I've heard you talk about this too, about because I used to do it all the time. I would either live my life between at 8, 9, or 10, or 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
And it's not interesting if it's not one of those things. But life between 4 and 7 is really fucking
I just added a thing. 4 is good. Listen, I understand what he's saying.
I'm sorry, I was with him until he goes, but 4 to 7 is really sad. 4?
I'll tell you why I understand what he means. I'll tell you why I understand what you mean.
Explain.
I just sort of talked
Would you tell
about
my
this.
friend what I mean?
I just sort of talked about, okay, Michael, he hears you, but Chris is trying to express, his 4 may not be your 4. His 4 may be your 2. But I just talked about this on the podcast, actually, and I've had the same fitness trainer for 14 years. And I said to him...
It shows.
Oh, thank you. And how about now?
I pulled a muscle.
Oh, I shit my pants.
Cheese ass.
Again. But I said to him, it's funny because when I first started exercising, I felt like I was working out to feel something, that sort of feel the burn. You got to feel it in your muscle. And I said, now, as I'm getting older, I work out and stretch and exercise to not feel anything, to the absence, because if I'm feeling something, there's probably a problem. And if you are chasing feelings, dramas, highs, lows, then you're not living, and the life stuff really... we have these fake cinematic ideas that everything has got to be all-consuming, or it doesn't exist, or like, if you're not doing something... It's doing versus being. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing something, then you're not really living. And it's like, no, living needs to... And I still try to, she's great at it and I'm not. It's just the idea of just being. Mm-hmm. Can you just be? And if you can just be, and you can be with each other and you can be with yourself, I feel like that's the goal, and nothing needs to, nothing should be more complicated than that, but I understand.
I understand.
So 4 to 7 is a very nice, I mean, I'm so lucky. She's so grounded and even keeled in the beginning, I was sort of like, "What's your angle?" You know, and it's just like, no, she's
Listen,
like,
Connecticut.
she's just
I'm
very,
on to you.
she's just very.
Can I make one more statement before we go to the next caller? This has nothing to do with you. I mean, it could, but it doesn't. And it's about prenups.
I mean, it might, but it
it's
isn't.
about prenups. Could be about you. Could be about anybody. My thought is, here's why prenups can work. Here's why I think they're right.
How did we get here?
I just thought about this because I thought, Chris is very successful. Lydia's successful. You're successful. Tyler, you're going to get successful. I could feel it. You're already successful in my book.
I got to put that in the hair comment box too.
No, he's working. Well, maybe not. You're working with me. How successful could you be? But listen.
Don't worry, Tyler. You'll get a better job.
No, dude, you love this job, don't you?
Someday, Tyler, things are really going to work out.
Tyler, do you enjoy it?
I do like this job a lot. I'm very broke, and someday I'll be successful. Sure, let's say that. I like this job a lot. It's fun.
We have fun together.
Hell yeah.
All right, good. So, I want to say this. Prenups, here's my reasoning. If I say I want to get a prenup, let's say Tyler and I are getting married. Tyler, I love you. I love you.
I knew that.
I love you like nothing else.
Oh, he didn't say it back.
I love you, and I want to be with you forever. The reason we should get a prenup is because you might fall out of love with me.
I'm just going to stop this.
Lydia,
right
I
there
didn't say I love you.
That's fine. As an
Tyler's
objective
attorney, I'm gonna have to-
observer, I think if you're in a relationship with someone and you want to get married, you shouldn't have to explain yourself as to why you need a prenup.
You just do it. You say, hey, prenup. Because then they're like, wait a minute, what? There
I
wasn't
think
any
it should be standard. And if you're entering into any sort of marriage, relationship, whatever, it's because you want to be with that person, not because you want to gain from that person.
And I also like money is a tool. It's not a defining quality. And when we were dating and we decided to get married, and the conversation was like a minute long. It was like, maybe we should just do this so that the money stuff never gets in the way.
Yeah.
I'll handle my stuff. You handle your stuff. There's no overlap. We don't have to worry about it. We're not like penny chasers where it's like, sometimes like, oh, I paid for the, it's not like, well, I paid for this. You pay. We just don't think that way. And so we just did it. If I were in a relationship with someone and then it didn't work out, I wouldn't want any of their stuff. Like
No,
I
me
wouldn't
neither.
want to benefit.
But it's
No.
different though if you marry someone that probably let's say hypothetically I marry someone who has either a lot more money than I do or has no money.
Well, I also let me preface it by saying this too. We also kind of had this understanding of like, listen, if it doesn't work out, we're not going to try to destroy each other, and neither one of us would ever leave the other person in a situation that was not good. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was just like, but that's probably not going to happen. So we're not ever going to have to worry about it,
Right.
but let's just do it and not ever have to think about it again. And it was fine. Cause I do think money does make people weird.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
if they have the same bank account, so why'd you spend this? What's this? What's this? What, oh, we need more. It just adds a weird pressure.
Yeah.
And so we set up like a house account.
Yeah.
And we both just put half in for mortgage or whatever and don't think about it, And if there was ever a time where one of us then it'd be like, yeah, fine, I don't care, She'll even say to me like, can I borrow some toothpaste? I'm like, it's your toothpaste as well, And it's cute. And so
still say it. I know,
she
it's
still says
terrible.
stuff, and I'm like, you have I mean, the understanding is that everything that's mine is yours.
Right.
Like we're not territorial
Yeah,
about our
right,
stuff.
right.
It's just being smart in a worst case scenario that is
Right, 'cause no
hopefully very
one-
unlikely to happen.
Right.
You would hope no one gets married thinking they're going to break up. That's not really the
course.
reason why you
But
enter
there
into
has to
something.
be a reality.
But I think it's important too that you do a prenup and all of that when you are in love, because who knows what's going to happen down the road. I mean, Chris knows I'd stab him in the dick if something went wrong, if he cheated on me. But
Oh, Chris's face on that.
Wait a minute.
Dick stabber.
And by the way,
But,
she'd be monotone.
But that's the thing that makes me laugh. It's hard. So just because it always kills me when she does it because it's so just calm and matter of fact.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, just I'm a comedian, so I walk into this territory because we watch a lot of like true crime shows, and there's usually always a mistress involved, and so I'll just go, just a joke. I'm like, oh, so am I not? Oh, no, I remember what it was. Her great-grandfather very historically had a mistress, and it was something that everyone knew about. It was very... And I said, so your family was okay with that? And she said, well, he and my great-grandmother just had an understanding it was a different time. And so, of course, my comedy brain, I don't get halfway through the joke. I'm like, oh, so in keeping with the family tradition, I even remember we were driving. I remember what road we were driving up. So in keeping with the family tradition, I should, and very calmly she cuts me off and she says, oh, if you ever cheat on me, I'll cut off your penis and plug your butthole with it. And I laughed so hard.
Oh my
because it's just so like.
As a matter of fact, that's what I'll do.
And that's how you know if you've fallen out of love.
I don't even think we need to go to another question after that.
I think that's a great place to end.
I think that's a great place to end.
Thanks for coming to talk to us.
That was
guys.
it. Yeah. That makes me laugh. It makes me laugh so hard.
So at the beginning of this podcast, Michael and I share the things that are currently like lifting us up, whether it's something in culture or a relationship or something that's working for us, therapy, and we keep forgetting to ask our guests to prepare an answer. But is there something? What's pumping you up these days? Like, is there a book or a musician or is it a charity you're working with? What's lifting you up these days?
I mean, I'm peculiar in the sense that I'm always bizarrely optimistic and happy, and I always tell my friends.
Then how do you
Chris,
do that? Tell us how you do that.
Honestly, for me, it's all about perspective. Where every single day and every single situation that gets thrown at you, there's two takes on it where you can be like, oh, this fucking sucks. I'm so upset. And like, I can't believe this happened. And for me, it's like, well, but now there's this other opportunity and you know what this one instance was. So now you can go in this other direction and do this other thing and you're free to have fun, like whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's all about perspective and how you see two sides of the same coin.
Cool.
So I'm just very bizarre where I always strive.
You're very
for
lucky.
The optimistic
I envy you.
aspect of it.
I do.
This is what I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I mean,
like even in like the worst case scenario where I truly believe sometimes in everyone has hard moments, everyone's told no at something, and I'm a big believer
Especially
that in life, you wouldn't truly appreciate the good if you didn't have the bad. So I'm appreciative for the bad to show me what's truly good and what I should be grateful for.
I mean,
well, I think
this has been fantastic.
Seriously, I want to thank you guys because it's a new thing where you invite couples on the show to talk. My ex-girlfriend came with her baby and talking. It was really weird. My assistant.
It's a good episode.
It's a good episode, and it's just like it just gives you a different perspective, and this has really helped me. And I hope it helps other people.
Well, I think it's just if you're talking about like dating and relationships are different things.
Sure.
If you want to date. If you want to be in a relationship, I just think it's important to be honest with each other up top. It's helpful if you have the same values, and if you don't, there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to not. To realize like, hey, this isn't really the right.
But I think
situation.
if it is gonna work, I mean, Chris is probably the first person who's ever truly believed in me and made me feel that I can really be the best version of myself and do these projects and succeed and find real joy. And that's, one of the reasons why I love him so much. And I think that's what you want in a partnership. You want someone who believes in you and that you believe in, and you both sort of lift each other up every single day.
And again, obviously, there are days where you can get in each other's nerves. There are days where it's like you're preoccupied or your partner is preoccupied, but at the very core, deep down, like I'm still lucky to be with this person, and there isn't anyone else I would rather be with, and I'm not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys, Chris Hardwick, Lydia Hearst. I hope this lasts forever.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do too.
Yeah, it's really sweet. It's a nice story.
When we got married, she was like, okay, you owe me 40 plus years.
I do. I keep reminding him of that too.
Because I'm in my 40s,
that's a good age.
40 plus.
It's like, just so you know, this is I'm expecting 40 plus
40
years.
plus.
But of course, just because I make bad jokes, I'm like, okay, we married 3 years, 37 years. And she's
30?
like, stop it.
Plus, there was a plus on it.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to go out on a song?
Oh yeah, let's.
What song you want to do?
You know what? Let's go out on your song, "Beautiful Mess." We have an In Love podcast playlist on iTunes with all of our kind of vibey love songs and things like that. And I don't know if you know this, but Michael Rosenbaum over here has a pretty sweet voice. And his band Left on Laurel is releasing an album. What's the album called?
The album's called Saved by the Ground. You could pre-order at iTunes. It's available on all platforms on October 4th.
Well, here we go.
Baby, I'm free. Everything you do, something crazy
once again, a huge thanks to our presenting sponsor, Smile Direct Club. For huge discounts, go to smiledirectclub.com/podcast and use our offer code INLOVE.